Happy New Year, gamers. Welcome to 2025, the first show of 2025.
That's
Hope
right,
you all are
first show
doing
ever.
well. Yeah.
The only internet show that has started on 2025 so far,
As far as I know, yeah.
as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, welcome to Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam, Gunpla, and gaming. I'm your host, Steven, aka Midnight Hatter, and joining me as always is the Blue Gamer Gundam explainer, Adam Blue. How are you, sir?
Hey, doing good, yeah, new year, right? And,
New Year.
it's that time where you kinda think about, "Okay, what am I gonna make sure I do this year or get done this year?" And you should grab a bunch of them. Well,
Yeah.
not necessarily. You have to be serious because on one hand, it's easy to be like, I don't need to do that." But on the other hand, if you only have a few things and you're also not taking it seriously, so it's like maybe try to find that one thing.
Well, hey, this is one of the things I'll say about my job and my boss, is that, like, one of the things that he very much stresses is having milestones for our big,
Yeah,
like, quarterly goals, and it's not like as a micromanaging thing. What it is at the end of the quarter. I hate when I say what it is, by the way. Like,
it's what it is.
the point of this is not to be a micromanager. It's so that at the end of the quarter, even if you didn't accomplish the big task, you can look at all the milestones you hit along the way and say, like, okay, I made
Yeah,
like 75%. That's really good.
that's
So,
good.
like, for instance, if your goal this year is to lose 35 pounds, keep track of each pound that you lose, so that way you can be like, "Well, I didn't hit 35, but I lost 27, and that ain't bad."
That no, that's good. I use that a lot in video games where it's like,
There
I
you
wanna
go.
beat a game. It's like, well, at least I got this level done, and hey, I'll chip away at grinding this here for a little bit, and look, I'm getting there.
Exactly. Forward motion, it's the same thing they talk about in football. Forward motion,
Oh, yeah,
you know?
sports. Okay.
Yeah, sport ball. Uh, but yeah, hopefully you guys are all doing well. I see Lucas and Ultronymous in the
Yeah.
chat. Then there's this other guy, Gundam Explained. I don't know what his deal is, but hopefully you guys are recovering from the festivities last night. All
Yeah.
right. What did you get into last night, Adam?
No, not too much. We were just hanging around at home. The oldest got invited to go work a fireworks stand with his friends, so he went to go do that, which
That's fun.
yeah, that was fun. And then we took some sparklers outside or whatever and, waved them around. And then, yeah, once it got past midnight, it was like, okay, I gotta get to sleep. But it was just, a nice chill day. So,
But
yeah,
you know
no.
what? That didn't stop you from dropping a video this morning. Don't think
Ooh.
I didn't miss it. The
Oh,
Gundam to Mark II. If you guys haven't checked that out, just seeing like the development between the original RX-78 and the Gundam Mark II is awesome. I love that.
yeah.
And it's something you and I talk about like all the time.
And that's why I made a video about it because, like, what's something top of mind that I just wanna talk about? And then I can do some research to support my thoughts, and that's what the video turned into because it's interesting that it's not like just, "Oh, the people that made the RX-72, let's make the next one." No, there's a lot to it. Not only the changes of hands and who's developing, but also what they meant by designing it a certain way, so,
Absolutely.
interesting
No, that
stuff.
very, very educational too.
Cool. Cool,
So
cool.
I enjoyed it. And like I said, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, after this, go check
After
it out.
this, yeah.
After this. Yeah, I didn't do too much either for New Year's, but, what I did do is I finally took my daughter to her first big girl movie. We went to the movie theater and watched Sonic 3 today, which was an absolute
Nice.
blast. She behaved way better than I thought she was going to. She's only 2 years old, so,
Yeah, that's
you
very
know,
young to be in
it's
a theater.
very, very young. She can't
But
even eat popcorn.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
a choking hazard for that
Oh,
age, but
okay, I guess you lose that knowledge as they get older, but I think that says a lot, like, for both, your daughter behaving and for the movie being good because the purpose is to get attention, to
yeah.
grab that attention, to make it fun and make their imagination go wild, and it sounds like it did that.
Yeah, yeah, she's always been a big Sonic fan. She loves, Detective Pikachu too, so I think it's something about,
Mm,
like, the real animated characters, like
yeah,
anthropomorphic animal type characters, like
where they look like they're plushies
yeah,
that are out there in the
like
world. Yeah.
actual live plushies, and so now she's probably gonna hound me until I get her a Shadow because,
You
she's like,
better.
"Oh, well, clearly I'm Maria and I need Shadow," like that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, but why don't you have them already? I made sure to get plushies before the movie even came out. Okay.
Well, so we have Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles,
Oh,
and she
okay, then you
brought
got
it
more
up
than
into
me.
the theater with us, which was
Oh,
funny. And,
okay.
like, the guys working the concession counter were hilarious because they were like, "Oh, you must be here to see Red One, right?" Like,
Ah, which is not a bad movie. I mean, your
really
daughter might not care too much because it does lean more towards older, humor and action and discussion, but I thought that was actually enjoyable.
interesting. I'm
Yeah.
I'm surprised because sometimes I see the trailers for movies like that are just like, let's make Santa into an action flick, and I get a little cringy, but
But let me tell you this, Santa's not in it a lot, and a huge chunk of the movie takes place in a demonic castle with a bunch of monsters or people in costumes. Like, it's really, like, surprisingly interesting, like, at that part, I'm like, "Wow, okay."
that
And
that is
I it
not the
that's stuff.
direction I would have expected.
Well, it's interesting because that's the stuff that's not really being leaned into with any of the trailers. I mean, they have that slap, scene that they show in the trailer, and that's at that
Right.
place, but there's more to that, that they don't really lean into. It has a darker side to it.
That's interesting. Well, maybe I'll have to check that out. Like
Yeah,
you said, maybe not for her, but,
you and your
maybe
wife.
for me and the missus.
Yeah, I think you guys would like it. Yeah.
But yeah, and also just a great message behind the Sonic 3 movie. This is something that you and I have talked about in the past is like just the idea where when you're creating content for children, whether it's video games, cartoons, toys, uh, there's a temptation to be dismissive and kind of phone it in and say, "Well, it's just for a kid, like, how good does it really have to be? Like, as long as we get the thing done and they have it in their hands, who cares what the quality is?" But that's one of the things that I think everyone in chat is agreeing with me is um, that the Sonic movies they deliver like these excellent stories and there's this like really powerful message which I don't think it's too spoilery. Like if you're familiar with the Sonic universe, you're familiar with the story of Sonic and Shadow and just the idea of there's this dichotomy between one hedgehog that has experienced trauma and rises above it, becomes a hero, and another hedgehog that experiences trauma and falls into a pattern of revenge and anger. And it's like that's a very powerful story and a very powerful message to impart onto children using anthropomorphic animals.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's a really well done story, and it reminds me of the Transformers 1 film where that was a very well done story, but I
Exactly.
think because it was completely CGI, instead of being like a classic Bayformers where, okay, we'll have the CGI characters like in the real world, even though that'd be hard to do because there weren't humans in this. It's
Yeah,
very interesting how both things could be very well done stories, but it is the context around it. Sonic is just popular for kids and then people that grew up with Sonic, and then
right.
Transformers, while that does exist, it's very easy to look at the trailer of Transformers 1 and think, "Oh, a kid Transformers," thinking, "Okay, when they do kiddie things again, they're kind of not they don't always go." So people would totally miss out that this Transformers 1 movie was good, so
Right. Well, and I mean, isn't that at the core of what made Gundam popular at the end of the day?
yeah.
Is, people looked at an anime about giant robots and they thought, "Oh, here's another giant robot anime for kids." And it's like you look at the fans even at that time. Like we're not talking about people that are kind of older and living off nostalgia, but we're talking about, even at that time, a lot of the fan letters that were coming in were from college age kids and things like that. And it was like, oh, there's actually like an adult appeal to this cartoon.
Yeah. That remind me of and I brought it up before the, Lego, oh, I forgot the name of it. The Neon Knights or something like that, I forgot the name, but it was like a cyberpunk medieval Lego, and it had a little
Oh,
story to it, and it kinda had Evil Dead vibes because there was a Necronomicon, but it was cyberpunk, but medieval, and it had mechs in it,
is
and
that Nexonites?
Nexo yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nexo thank you. And, I think I've shown on a video, like, the mechs before from it, and it's just that's another example of it was people that really wanted to create something, and they knew what their target audience was, but they're like, "You know what? Let's add in the things we like." I mean, cyberpunk medieval is a pretty cool idea. There's
Yeah.
probably a better name for that. Not steampunk because it's all neon, but still
Right.
medieval. Um,
Mm,
but and then having a Necronomicon, oh, okay, from Evil Dead or something, right? Horror movies.
yeah.
But the show was made for kids. I didn't really watch all the show. I mainly built the Legos and there was a game on mobile. That was pretty fun, but, But yeah, that's just another example of it's funny how sometimes there's things out there made for kids, but the right people behind it will do what Tomino did and, like, really think of the story and the setting and say some interesting things.
Yeah, if you care enough, you'll
Yeah,
do something.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Speaking of caring enough, I didn't even mention I'm gonna show my own Patreon here for a minute because it is the 1st of the month, completely forgot that.
Oh,
And so,
very cool.
obviously, if you guys are Patreon members, definitely go hit up the Patreon now because there's 3, not 1, but 3 perks that are downloadable if you are part of, like, the upper tiers that get 3D models. There's the Raspberry Pi case that is in the shape of a 1 to 1/44th scale bass jabber. If you're not into, like, the home electronics thing, there's also just a 1/144th scale saberfish that is
Ooh.
you can print it in parts so that, like, you can assemble it. And then at the la finally, there's it's more of a utility piece. It's actually kind of like a sub-arm kit. Because, like, if you're like me and you
Oh,
keep all of the
oh,
spare, polycaps that you collect over the years, you don't know what to do with them, this is just a 3D print. It's 2 parts that just snap together and make you put polycaps in them, and it makes, like, sub-arms.
great idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, just something simple like that. I thought it was cool, and so, yeah, let me know if there's any other types
Mhm.
of joints and, like, weird utility parts that you think would be appealing because I was thinking to myself, I was scrolling through Thingiverse and I was thinking, there's lots of, ball joints that are available on Thingiverse. There's replacement polycaps that you can print, but in resin, they don't really work too well. At least
Oh,
they're not, like, grippy, so they don't hold on to things tightly enough. But something like a butterfly joint, which is one of those, like it's like a ball joint and it's got, like, 1 plate and then, like, a sandwich on it, and so, like, it's a hinge this way, but then because it's on a peg and a peg, you basically have 3 points of rotation, which is, um that's where, like, a lot of, like, the Marvel Legends type figures and the SH Figure
uh,
Arts figures get their rotation, especially in the shoulders. It's like, it can rotate this way, it can go up, it can spin around.
what about for ball joints? I don't know if this would work, printing them to have faces, like, it would be like a 10-faced ball joint, piece that would go into another one that was like that, so it almost had a few little places to help give it that friction.
Yeah, almost like a ratchet joint, but
Yeah,
in 3 dimension.
yeah,
That's a great idea. I mean, I feel like it would wear down over time, but
yeah, that is
still,
one thing, but yeah, that
that's a great idea.
that could
I'll
be an option.
definitely, between that and I don't know if I share this, I might have shared it on Discord, but I saw a 3D animation of a spherical gear that was designed by some Japanese engineers. And the way that it works is, like, it's got teeth, like, it's a ball that's got teeth grooves in it, and if there's just, like, a regular gear, it can rotate the ball, but that means that the ball, if it's sandwiched between gears that are at all different angles, the gear can change. It has, like, infinite pivot positions, which is crazy.
That is I wanna see, yeah, you might have shared that or posted it somewhere because that does sound familiar. That might have been when you were
Cool
doing, like,
stuff.
research for one of your prints or
I
whatever.
I ju hey, I love getting inspired, which is what today's show is all about, is getting
Oh,
inspired.
yeah, action figures can do that.
Mhm.
Toys, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and this partially came up because the other day you were streaming the assembly of a Mobile Suit Ensemble kit.
Yeah, yeah, Mighty
And
Strike Freedom.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, like that little guy.
I love that scale, man, and I love the
I do too.
proportions because it's not quite SD. It's like
Yeah, I know, it's not quite it still has, the legs and the arms to move around, so
but there is an element of randomness to those, right?
yes, and it's like if you get them traditionally, there you get them at the gashapon machines, so you don't know what you're gonna get, and even then, they in the machine, it's a set of them, right?
Right.
And so not only could one of them be random, but one of the options is like an option part set of accessories that go to some of them. So it's like you need both, and you don't know how long it's going to take. Like yeah, especially if from one set you only need one of the mobile suits and one of the option parts, you just have to try to get that.
Right. So
Yeah.
then, yeah, you end up with, like This is why eBay sellers make so much money on the secondhand market is because
Yeah.
they just go and buy tons of them, and it's like, "Okay, I got the 5 that I needed, and then I'm just gonna sell off everything else."
Or, I think is it AmiAmi that I use, where they'll put for sale the ones
Right.
in the box, but it's like where it's all of them are in there.
Yeah.
And so I try to go for that whenever I can. But it does, and we might get into this. It does take out the potential layer of fun of getting something random, almost you're gambling, but do some people even care about that? You know?
That's a very good question, and I'm glad you mentioned that because this year, for Christmas, my wife, she's on Facebook. She is like in the mom mode, right? And so she was like, "I'm gonna get our kid like the it toy. What's the most popular thing? What's the Turbo Man doll of this
Oh,
year?"
yeah.
For
We
those of
all
you
know.
old enough to remember Jingle All the Way. Um,
Yeah.
so what is the Turbo Man doll this year? So the toy that is super popular with kids my daughter's age is this Pets Alive Mama Duck Surprise. I didn't know what it was until we kind of opened it and started playing with it, and it was so fascinating to me because there is an element of randomness to it, but it's not that random. It's just enough that maybe it's just fun, right? So this toy it's an electronic duck. It's a plush duck, like the mama duck is plush, the baby ducks are plastic. And this image here on screen is deceptive because it does not come with everything that's included on this. So
Yep.
as you can see in the package, it comes with just this mother duck inside of she's got like a little coop and she's got some eggs underneath her, 4 eggs to be specific. And when you open it up, the eggs pop up and you open them up and it's a surprise what the egg contains. It might contain one of these little plastic baby ducklings. It might contain a pack of 3 puffy duckling stickers, or and this part I think is kind of dark, is it comes with like a packet of egg yolk slime, like
I know, that's just wild.
I didn't wanna have to explain to my daughter, like, why that egg was a dud, um, but and she didn't even like the slime portion of it, like, go figure, she's the one American girl that doesn't like playing with slime, um, but, I mean, I had fun with it because and what's cool is it's actually 2 pouches of slime, it's got, like, the yolk and the white, and you can kinda mix them together and,
Oh, that's interesting.
um,
But,
but
it would be like if they made this where it was a cow, and then, like, it came with a hamburger.
oh,
You know?
no.
That's why this doesn't make sense to me.
Right, it doesn't translate well to other animals either.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a random assortment of 4 of these things, and so, like, you're guaranteed to get at least 1 of the baby plastic ducks, but then everything else is kind of up for grabs, and there's even, like, this special golden duck that I guess will take you to Willy Wonka's castle or something like that.
Ah, need the golden
But,
duck.
so the toy itself, it's just this plush duck. She's got wheels on her, and so she walks, waddles, and she'll sing and, like, chirp and things like that. But then the baby ducklings actually have magnets in them and can connect to the mama duck, and you can create, like, a little trail, and she'll sing different songs based on which ducks are connected to her. So it's actually a really cool
That's cool.
toy even outside of the randomness of it,
Yeah.
but there is this element of randomness to it, and I don't know how I feel about it entirely. And then I'm like, well, what if this were something that was Gundam related? Like, why hasn't Bandai thought of doing something like this for an action figure line?
Yeah, because the most they do it is just, the 5 to whatever dollar, the gastropon where you know what you're getting into.
Yeah,
And this is $30. So it's one of those things
right.
where it's like if you buy it and then your kid doesn't get the thing, do you get another one, or is it because it's a kid, they're not gonna care? But then, yeah, if it was Gundam and you're older, you're more into that, this wouldn't fly. I don't think if you were trying to collect pieces for something that was, yeah, $30, Gundam related, even though this is how it works in GBO2 and in Japan in general, I don't think that would fly here.
No, well, and thankfully, like, my daughter's at an age where she doesn't, like, care, she's not saying, "Oh, well, why didn't I get the pink duck?" It's like she doesn't
Yeah,
even know that a pink duck exists, so it was
yeah.
not a big deal. But yeah, to your point is, like, if you're an older kid, if you I was trying to think, okay, how would I Gundamify this type toy? And I started thinking about some of the older like Gundam type toys, and one of the things that came up was the Mobile Suit in Action line from like the early 2000s. Well, at the time, they actually had these, play sets, which, this goes back to the conversation that you had with Justin Cavender from Bandai Collect, is,
Yeah.
like the idea of play sets like Castle Grayskull and things like that. They did have these play sets for the Mobile Suit in Action line. They're miniatures, so they're not like the full scale ones, but like you
But
would get
how
the
big
Albion.
about?
So this I think is like, I guess roughly that size, and it's got
That's
like
pretty
tiny mobile suits with it.
like, would you compare it to Action Fleet, the Star Wars Micro Machines Action Fleet?
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, for
Oh,
sure, and oh, man, I mean, look at this set. This is awesome because it's the Musai, but it's got, like, a flight stand, it's got the Dendrobium, so it's like it's from 0083, comes with 2 DOMs, 2 Zaku's, it looks like, and the GPO-2, so,
ah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, that's awesome,
That's
like,
something I would buy right now. In fact,
that's
I am
everything you need to
searching
play.
yeah, I am searching the internet right now.
Um,
Hmm,
but so, like, what if and this is just kind of like my first spitball take of it is, like, what if there was something like, oh, you buy like an Argama playset and the Argama is guaranteed. So like when you open it up, it's got like the little parts and you open up the hangar bay and it's guaranteed to have a Zeta Gundam. But then you might get 2 Black Rick Dias, you might get a Gundam Mark II, you might get if you're special, you get the red Rick Dias. That's like the limited edition one. That's the golden duckling, right? So would that offend people? Would
yeah.
that break the immersion? Would that not be fun? I don't know.
Okay, so I think what it is when we get to this type of collectible, it's kinda more of that. It's to kind of collect, have, display. With the kids toy, and again, this goes to the condensation,
Condensa
yeah, yeah,
condescension.
condescension, thank you, towards kids, where it's like it's kind of a randomness because it doesn't matter, but it kinda should, but it doesn't. It's like they know maybe they can get it to where then the kid really wants that other one, and the parents like, "Okay, we'll get the other one, $30." I feel like that's going on there, whereas if you got collectors that are into this and it was random, like the Gundam stuff, they would be making a stink online, on Twitter, on Reddit, and they wouldn't
Oh,
get
yeah.
away with it. So it
People already raise enough of a stink about P. Bandai for my
I
taste.
know, I know. And but then there's that other thing we were talking about, and we see this in GBO too, where it's almost kind of a product of itself, like the Gashapon getting the Mobile Suit Ensemble, where there's a element of that it's like, yeah, I am wanting to see what I might get this time, but
Right.
to
Th
the scale of that duck toy, I feel like it went too far. And because if you were to translate that to an adult collector's item that was, yes, one thing with a bunch of other little things that were random, yeah, it wouldn't
Now
fly.
it's I think it's fair to say, and I'll push back on this a little bit because, for instance, like Pokemon cards, that's something that appeals to both collectors and kids.
Mhm.
And I think that the randomness is still predatory to a certain extent because
Yeah.
most of the like booster packs, it's like you're guaranteed to get at least one. I guess I don't know the rarities off the top of my head, but like one card is guaranteed to be a foil card, right? Um,
And I kind of I guess, and maybe because I grew up with trading cards being a thing and it wasn't that expensive to get, it's
right. Trading cards are not the same as like a $30 piece of
yeah.
plastic.
It but at the same time, with the trading card thing, it's like there's a kind of a reason for that, and I think it in theory, it's cool because then when you're playing against people, everyone could have a different deck.
That's true.
So I think, like, in theory, the idea of and that's kinda how it worked with the trading cards, like baseball cards or whatever, or even the Marvel stuff, because 'cause I'd get, "Oh, I already have this one. Oh, I don't have that one. Wanna trade?" And that would happen. It's harder to do when it comes to these. Even when I bought my, whole box of the Mobile Suit Ensemble and I had some, duplicates, it's like, well, I could trade with someone, but who? And the easiest thing to do is maybe just sell it for a little more, on eBay for enough to just buy another one, like yeah.
Which is kinda silly because it's like, especially with things like this where there is a different rarity factor to it, like, who is going to want to if you were to buy this set and it was random, like, which mobile suits came with it, like, who's gonna say, "Hey, can I trade you 2 Doms for your 1 Zaku?" Like, it doesn't that
Y no.
doesn't
Yeah.
quite work the same.
But
Now and granted, these don't even have the same level of gimmicks as, like, the Mama Duck figure because, like, obviously, there's
yeah,
electronic
that
components there, then, like, there's the interactivity between the ducklings and the Mama Duck. You don't really have that going on here, like, if they did have, like, RFID chips in the mobile
oh,
suits and,
yeah.
like, played different audio on the ship when
Yeah,
like, when you would.
okay, so this reminded me of a couple things. So speaking of the Star Wars action fleet,
Oh, yeah.
there's that line that's out right now called Micro Galaxy, which is kind of the same thing. I love it. I just haven't been collecting them. I wish I could. I have a couple. But they do the whole thing there will be a chase variant. So they'll have like the X-wing with Luke in his pilot gear and R2, but the chase variant is
Yeah,
Luke in the black robe. And it's like, oh, you want to get it. It's not that you're gonna buy it, you don't know if you're gonna get it or not. Maybe if you're buying it online, but in the store, you can
maybe.
look for it. And it was like that with, when you're going to buy, like, the Star Wars action figures, like, for me, the vintage collection, where they would have the troop builder ones, they wouldn't have a lot of for some reason, even though it would make more sense to have more troop builders, but then, like, the one character that no one cares for, they would have tons of,
Of
that
course.
does one thing, and it's like, well, so that's kind of not related, but kind of when it comes to the collector's mindset.
No, I mean, that's spot on because when I was playing HeroClix, there was always chase variants of particular sets. Like, for instance, there was one Superman figure that came out. I forget which set it was. It was one of the later ones, but there were 3 versions of it. There was the standard Superman, there was the Kingdom Come, like, old man Superman, and then there was, like, a I forget, like, what the other Superman was. That was definitely the least popular of the 3.
Oh,
The Kingdom Come variant was the one everybody wanted, which I think that's the one I have, if I remember correctly. I really should, like, go through and sell all my HeroClix because 'cause I'm sure that I've got, like, at least $2,000 worth of of
really?
HeroClix. Oh,
Is it
yeah.
n is it nothing that you see that you would be playing again?
I don't know. I mean, I don't anticipate ever being around people that are kind of into that stuff that would play.
Is it not an easy, like, board game to have lying around where you got some friends over? "Hey, let's play this game called HeroClix." I don't know if it worked.
You could probably throw down and play a little bit. I mean,
Oh,
it's easy enough to pick up because it's just, turn-based and we
yeah,
always did, like, the draft style where it was like, "Okay, you've got 300 points, make your team with 300 points," and so it's like, okay, we all kind of go through, well, I wanna make sure that I get Iron Man, so Iron Man
that's
on my
cool.
squad, and then, like, so and so will take Spider-Man, and we kinda go back and forth like that. But yeah, it was the same sort of thing where and that ironically kind of combines the elements of what we were talking about because like you said, with trading cards, it's a game piece. So there's the appeal of having a different game piece, but then it's also a different figure. So like the chase variant functionally still works as the game piece, but it just has different art style, different paint job.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. And
Yeah.
then it's also like the you get into that idea of um artificial scarcity, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
just because the figure is rare, it becomes popular. But if the figure wasn't rare, like who cares about it? Um there was
Yeah,
one
that's
figure that in HeroClix, it was Superboy Prime, and this was like during the Sinestro Corps, like the Green Lantern saga that was going on at the time. They came out with a Superboy Prime one. I don't think anyone would have cared about Superboy Prime except for the fact that it was a limited run piece.
okay. 'Cause Superboy wasn't really a big deal?
Well, he was like one of the main villains in the comic book tie-in,
Mm.
but he's kind of a punk.
Oh, okay. I remember that from when I don't know if it's the same, but when they first did the Death of Superman, and then they
Oh,
had,
yeah.
like, a Superboy, they had Steel, I think that was,
Yeah,
Shaq, but not
Steel.
really. They made a Shaq movie, but I um,
I never was good at free throws.
but and then there was the Superman, I think that they had come back with, like, long hair, I don't know, I remember they had different ones. Was it during that
Yeah.
time period?
This came later, but yeah, it's the same Superboy, but, like,
Okay.
ironically, the way that his origin story was that he got trapped in another universe and got so upset that he punched space-time and created a rip in space-time, and he insists that he's, like, the original Superman and that everyone else is a fake, and so
Interesting.
that's
It sounds like Amuro, like, like a teenager type of anger,
exactly,
it's
and
interesting.
that's why he's Superboy, right?
Yeah,
And he's Superboy Prime because he's from the Prime universe. Um,
uh,
but it goes exactly to the theme of, like, Sonic, where it's like, yeah, you got dealt
oh,
a
yeah.
crappy hand, but then you become a supervillain because you are,
The
you know,
choices you make. Yeah,
immature.
yeah, yeah, that's pretty good.
What were we talking about again?
Yeah, I know, we were go no, I got distracted,
No,
so the
it's,
mobile suit in action, like, for so I've heard of this stuff, and I think when this stuff came out was the time where I was not really buying action figures at all, but if I saw this stuff in the stores, I would be freaking out right now. And
oh,
and it's
these
interesting
things were
because, they do
awesome.
have the Gundam universe, but I even feel like the Mobile Suit in Action is more geared toward a collector than the Gundam universe seems to be geared more toward kids, you know?
Which is
Um,
ironic because it's almost like the appeal of the Mobile Suit in Action figures is that, like, they're very playable, which is it's almost inverse. Like, if you look at the
yeah.
packaging, like, here, this
Look at
is
all the
very,
stuff.
like, directed towards kids, but, like, look at all the accessories. You got
Yeah.
3 different alternate hands, you've got the leg missiles, you've got the bazooka, all of them came with tons of different parts, and, like,
And it's not like it's made up stuff. It's not like
no.
there's this guy with the winter camo armor, like the Batman Returns figures would do, like, or just some
Yes.
random, like, spring action gun that's not even in the shape of anything in the universe. It's
Right. Which ironically goes back to a conversation that you and I had, I think it was either last week or the week before, where it was like the original toys that came out from the Gundam set. It was like, why did the RX-78 have a
oh,
spear? Like,
yeah.
that wasn't a thing in the show. Like, so even back then they had difficulty just replicating the things that happened in the show. Um, but yeah, I mean, my little brother, he didn't even really like Gundam the way that I did, but he was totally into the battle scarred line of figures, which let me see if I can pull up an image of these guys. Um,
I might wanna pick one up, like, whatever would be, like, the main cool one. Oh, there's a
let's
twin set Battle Scar Last Shooting.
oh, that's perfect, right? It's got like everything you need. So like we actually had 3 of these, that are on screen right now. We had the GPO-1, we had the RX-78, and we had the Ground Gundam, and look at the number of accessories that they come with.
And
Like, if
accurate
yeah, and
style
accurate.
accessories. Yeah.
You had 2 different Gundam shields, one of them's cut in half, you had, like, 1 damaged core fighter, there was, like, 1 arm that was, like, the blown off arm, and then you could swap it out for, like, it's still battle damaged, but it's, like, a complete figure.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of these. Yeah, battle scarred. You know what they also have? Um, they also have what looks like the Gundam Rose, battle scarred Gundam. I know people would totally be into that.
Oh, yeah, I feel
That
like they had almost the whole set of G Gundam figures in the Mobile Suit in Action line.
impressive. Impressive. Man, you know what? Since my journey with, getting into Gundam and the robot spirits, I really don't ever hear about MSIA mentioned unless it's just someone saying, "Oh, I found these figures back in the day." But I wonder if they didn't age well, even though they look amazing.
I mean,
Uh,
I don't
I need to
know,
find
I thought they were pretty sweet, they're the soft kind of rubbery plastic, they're not, like, rigid, so
ah,
and but
okay.
I like that because it means that they're more durable, they can actually, like, hold up to being played with,
Yep.
so it's pretty cool, and I think, yeah, again, I love the idea that they come with so many different accessories, I love the idea that, you know, they you can have, like, play sets with them, I think my little brother also bought, like, the Gallop,
Oh,
um I don't know if
that's
it was in this M and the M and V series was like a smaller scale, but, like, there was a Gallop and, like, a Medea that he had, and we used to play together with those all the time. Yeah, I was, like, 16, who cares?
yeah, exactly. I remember, bringing my Blade action figure to high school, and I was 16. I didn't care.
Yeah, there's a
Oh.
reason that, you and I weren't cool until we we hit our 30s.
Uh,
But this is one of those things that I wanted to talk to you about, especially because you are a big Gachapon guy and, like, as an enthusiast of I don't wanna say, like, loot boxes, because you and I both kind of have the same feelings about loot boxes where
yeah.
it's like, there's a predatory aspect to it, but then there's a little bit of joy to there's a reason that gambling is addictive, right?
Yeah, I don't mind at all, and I'll do this. I'll go to Target and, lately they have these little 4.99, Godzilla blind boxes, and they've been fun. I'll go grab one each time I go in, and, like, for instance, here's 3 different Godzillas right here because there's, different ones to get, and that's fun because 'cause you're
Yeah,
just down, "What's there to do? I'll spend a few bucks, get this. Oh, what did I get? Oh, it's cool," and then, you just put it down somewhere. I think it's yeah, I think yeah, it's where part of the gambling aspect of it, the mystery is fun, and it's kind of what you're paying for. It's
yeah.
just that when the prices is getting a little higher and you're being conscious of what you're spending, then it's like, "Well, do I really want this mystery? Because if I don't get what I want, then" and it's like that with GBO2, that's like the
There's,
tough
like, a
thing
sunk
about
cost
that.
fallacy. I think
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
there's a number of content creators I'm familiar with that, like, dropped GBO2 because they would go through the steps. Like, they would do like, they were trying to get, like, whatever the banner suit was,
yeah, right.
and they would go through the steps and then not get it. So it's like, you're dropping at that point, like, how many tokens? Like, 70?
Because what I understand is, yeah, and I could be wrong. I think someone could correct me on this, but I think to get what you want from a banner, I think, yeah, it's up to $100 that you spend to get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that might be a couple times a month.
Yeah,
And so there are people
potentially.
that are just doing that. So it's like Bandai can get this recurring revenue, right? And that's what is helping them. And it's an interesting balance because the game is free to play, but to get what you want is predatory, but then it allows it to continue to exist.
Right,
It's
because a handful of whales are always gonna support the entire community
yeah,
of the game. So, I guess, yeah, when it comes to, like, random assortments in figures, there are a couple of key considerations. One, and you mentioned this, is price. Is if it's just a
yeah,
couple of bucks and it's like there's no sunk cost fallacy associated with it where it's like, "Well, I'm already $100 in the hole, I might as well buy, like, $50 more just to get what I want." Um, there's that approach to it, right? There's the transparency aspect where it's like, is there and this kind of goes to that what you were saying about GBO2 is like, if you're gonna have a banner suit and you're gonna have these steps in order to get it, you know, how clearly is it communicated that what you want is going to cost that much? Um,
yeah.
and then, of course, this is the most painful thing is like, if you do spend all that way and then don't get it, like, is that does that count as a rug pull? Because
Yeah, and psychologically too, people react differently to things like that, and that could be like
Mhm.
the buildup of how excited you
Mhm.
are to spend money. Oh, I might get this thing, and then you don't, and then that affects people differently. It could be where someone like, I'm just gonna go drink my beer, and maybe that leads to something. Or someone might be like, f this game, I'm gonna do something else. But it's a dangerous thing, I think.
See, and that's where it's like for me, this is where the third consideration comes into play, and this is one of the reasons that like this pets alive mama duck thing appeals to me so much is that it falls right in that range of like you said, it's a little too expensive to want to go buy more just for another duck.
Mhm.
But there is a there's a toy that's associated with it that's completely divorced from the random aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so if like for instance the pulls in GBO2, maybe you don't get the banner suit, but you're guaranteed to get something good that you want, or at least something that you don't have that's
Yeah.
of a certain quality. You know what I mean? Like I think that what would suck is if you spend like your 30 tokens on the featured pull and you get nothing but recycle tickets. That's a letdown.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what's fascinating, and this is, I'm not even a particularly good programmer, but I know that it is entirely possible to read the inventory of the player that's doing the polls and say, well, we know that he doesn't have this 4-star suit, and maybe he doesn't get the banner poll, but we're going to give him this 4-star suit that he doesn't have yet.
Yeah, which it seems like that happens in GBO2 because it will be like maybe a month or 2 later, then I'll start getting, "Oh, I've been wanting that." I remember the same thing happened with the Zeta and the Double Zeta. Those were both like, "Oh, I'll never get them." And then eventually, like, I got them. I'm like, "Oh, okay, if you just hang in there, you'll
Yeah.
eventually get most suits." And so then there's that aspect. You start getting excited because you do have the suits you want, and then, "Okay, I'm all into this game now. Let's see what we get." And then you don't get what you want, and then it puts you back into the, okay, because even, like, what was it? This past year, I stopped playing GBO2. I
Mhm.
played a little bit here and there, but I was really burnt out. But then with For Requiem for Vengeance, I jumped in to see if I could get, you know, the Gundam EX, and I didn't. And I saw other people were, and I'm like, "This is my life. I am such a loser that I could not get the Gundam EX, and everyone else has it." And then I was like, "I'm not playing this game," but I'll probably go
Yeah.
back to it now that there's a 750. I knew that was gonna happen. I knew they were gonna,
Yeah, I mean, they just kinda have to, right? It's
yeah.
like
But I don't wanna get too off topic, but I just wanna say real quick, doesn't GBO2 fly in the face of any sort of regularity of how the gaming industry works?
it really does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an abnormal I can't even what is the proper term to describe GBO2 because it's not built on like a modern engine. It's not like an Unreal game where it's like it's easy to support. It is a 20 plus year old game engine that they are holding together with duct tape at this point. Um, it is free to play. It's not accessible, like, it no, I mean, it's not
Right.
accessible in the sense that, like, anyone can pick up and play it the same way that, like, Fortnite or Call of Duty is, like, everyone can pick up a first person shooter and they can roll with it, it's fine,
Exactly.
but, like, there is a steep learning curve to playing GBO2,
There is. Yeah.
um, so it's not like you have this constant churn of players that's coming in and out, it's like,
Right. It's,
that's
people that are dedicated to it, or the idea is they get people to attach themselves to it long term. And maybe that's kind of what helps because when you do play it, you realize, "Oh, this feels good for a action game where you're in mechs." Like,
yeah.
it is kind of amazing combat for something as it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
and I think that that's why it's held up so well,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, so this is these are the things that I've been thinking about. So what I'm gathering is you would probably not be in favor of an official Gundam product that introduced an element of randomness to it.
Yeah, if it got to the point of the duck example, yeah, I think this is a good example. I don't think consumers would allow the duck toy to exist as a collector's toy,
Yeah,
like that status. A $30 thing that's based on an IP that then and it has the randomness, like, I think people would be calling them out. And that's, yeah, it goes back to this is a kid toy, so it's hard for there to be complaints.
yeah, and I feel bad because again, this is one of those things that we talk about all the time where it's like, man, why do we treat kids so poorly in our culture?
Yeah.
We give them such junk and then
Yeah.
expect them to put up with it. But, yeah, like, m what about this example? What if in high grade kits, especially if they're part of a certain line, let's say it's the
Ooh,
Witch from Mercury line.
okay.
When you buy the kit, you get the kit that you want, but you know how they have those, like, little $7 option parts sets that maybe come with, like, a random weapon or a shield or something like that? Like, the one that you could get at the Gundam base. They throw one of those in randomly into the box.
Okay. I do like this idea.
It's
You
pretty
know,
cool, right?
and I think because I in general, I don't think high grades are that expensive, you know?
I don't
And
think so.
especially at the ones you find at Target, Witch from Mercury, they have the Freedom, Seed Freedom, they have Requiem for Vengeance, like and in the nature of a high grade kit, people do tend to buy and build often. You might even buy it just to open it and get the thing out, and then you'll still have that kit there for like fodder or something later. So it kind of goes back to that element of it still coming with the mama duck.
Yeah.
You're still getting something that people would buy multiples of because kit bashing, doing some more custom work, and it might even make you wanna buy it when you wouldn't. Yeah, I could walk by in Walmart maybe and see another, Zaku 2 for Requiem for Vengeance, be like, "I already have 2, but why not have 3? And then I'm gonna get this other stuff, so I'll make it a custom,"
Yeah, you got a whole squad.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like that idea. Well, then let me ask you, is there because that is completely optional to someone, like, if they need it or not. Like, in fact, even in the instructions, it could just be like, "Well, this character could hold this many different weapons that comes with whatever," and not like it's part of the build. Are there any other downsides to that?
Hmm.
Because I feel like you came up with a really good example that would be fun.
I mean, I suppose if they were to introduce, like, a chase weapon or a chase accessory that was, like, the
Okay.
banner accessory, that would be an issue, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm glad that you mentioned this because, like, this is something that I've been working on actually is a review of this little guy.
Oh, yeah.
This is the HCM Pro Zeta Gundam.
Oh, okay.
Surprisingly, there is not an English review of this, model kit on YouTube, so I was like, "You know what?
There you go.
I feel it is my responsibility as the resident Zeta guy to review this." And what came up when I was doing the video or, like, recording it anyway, I haven't, like, done the voiceovers and all that stuff. When I was just recording the footage, I was like, "Holy crap. This tiny 1/200 scale, like, I think it was 24 bucks when I bought it, this HCM Pro, Zeta comes with a Hyper Mega Launcher when the Master Grade Verka Zeta does not."
Dude, HCM Pros are well, let me ask you, did you always have it? Or
Oh,
did you buy
this
it
this
recently? Yeah.
yeah, I've had it for, over a decade.
Like, when it came out
Yeah.
originally. Wow, that is cool because I love those HCM Pros. Um, that is cool that you're gonna do a video on it. Because I got the GM Sniper,
Oh, yeah.
um, and what else did I get? I think there's another one I got, but those things are great. Like, and was it one you had to build, or just
No, it
parts of it
comes
were on
pre-built.
runners? Like, the hands and the guns were
Oh,
on
yeah,
runners?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like yeah, some of the accessory parts were still on runners, which again, the accessories, it comes with how many different hands? It comes with a beam saber hand for each hand, a trigger hand for each hand, an open palm for each hand, and then even then, it also comes with a left hand that is holding the tip of the beam rifle for when you wanna use, like, how Zeta Gundam does, it's like it holds the beam rifle as a spear.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
has, like, a custom hand that holds just the tip of the beam rifle with a beam effect part attached. And so that's, like it's got 1 for the Hyper Mega Launcher, 2 beam saber hands, the beam hand for that. It's got 5 different beam effect parts that come with it.
That's amazing. Dude, I'm telling you, that line is secretly the best line, and I was just looking up some other ones, that they've got here, and it's just Oh, man, they I would love to get some more of these, but
So
they can be kinda pricey, like, I'm looking at a
yeah,
Easy
now
8.
they're super expensive.
Yeah, it's like 54 plus 10 shipping, like, that's not bad for an older collectible that's as nice as this, but it would be hard to just start collecting all of those,
Yeah.
but dude,
I
that Zeta looks good. I'm looking at some pictures here,
and fully transformable.
and it has a stand?
No, that's stands not included, which
Oh,
I'll
okay.
have to put in the review. But yeah, fully transformable too, so, no parts forming.
That is awesome. I gotta grab one of these
So,
eventually.
yeah, when I first got into well, I guess when I got back into, Gundam when I was a little older, I bought this, the Titans Gundam Mark II, and the Zaza B in the HCM Pro line, which all 3 of them are fantastic.
Yeah, they have, the Green Divers version of the Zeta Gundam, the
Yeah,
Amuro. Wow.
mhm.
Ah, man, like, that is a cool line to me. I know we
Oh,
were just talking about MSIA, there's Gundam Universe, but these things, they're a little smaller, but super detailed and have all the accessories and articulation. It's
and they already have, like, decals on them and things like that, so
yeah, the real type markings. Oh, I love that stuff. Hmm,
so I mean, it it's the new year. Do you think that we're gonna see any types of gimmicks? And we've talked about this before with like the Gundam Universe line. Like, you know, it would be cool if there was like an assembly figure that you could get with each series, where it was like, okay, you buy each figure in the set and you can build a Psycho Gundam, or like, the way that the Marvel Legends figures used to do. Um, is
uh,
there any kind of gimmick or something that Bandai could bring to the table for Gundam besides just packing them with accessories like they do with some of the MSIA and the HCM Pro line, what could they do to
okay,
encourage people to buy more?
thank you, 'cause I've been wondering this, and as you were giving examples, I came up with it. It should be stands that are like diorama bases, and it could have a building, and it would come with an explosion, an effect part. It doesn't have to be super expensive, but it could be, "Oh, I can now place the," and it could be themed, like, they could have, maybe something that almost looks like a desert, and then there could be some, like, mountain range sort of thing sticking up, and then like maybe stands
Mhm.
for, oh, and to come with the core booster, and then you can have like the ground Gundams in the area, maybe like a little tent that looks like like that's I think that's what they should do, because what makes Gundam cool is a giant mech. How can you make something look like a giant mech, put stuff around it that makes it look miniature, the stuff so they
Right.
need to,
Put
and
it in scale and use, like, forced perspective to, like, make it look the size that it's supposed to be.
yeah. And because at the same time, a lot of times we're wanting to stand and pose these, so if you can stand and pose it. So that's what they need to do. Gundam Universe needs to, and they kind of do this sort of, with like the high grades, or the model kit stuff. They'll have like, remember they had those little like hex
Yeah.
little thing. I mean, they're all right, but I need something a little more dynamic, something that doesn't look so utilitarian, like this is just for this. And the reason I say Gundam Universe is it's interesting how that line just happens to be popular, because they're coming out with version twos now, where they're
Yeah.
redoing the engineering. And so that makes me think, okay, could they come out with other stuff to widen it? Because, or, widen the playability, I guess, because they even had those figures that came out for the past few years. They were like the smaller Gundam figures that you would put together, and they came with like an extra one that you could build a Zaku. And like, it's like they attempt these things a lot. Like,
Yeah.
The even the G frames, they sell those, which just are just tiny model kits. That's pretty cool.
Right.
And, I remember they have, like, the folding, like, it was like a Haro, yeah, that you would open, and, like, kinda who cares?
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it's like, I almost don't I feel like Bandai could do anything, because so far, I think what they do, I I can't even track what they're trying to do. Not that that's a bad thing. I think a lot of times they tend to experiment with what kind of action figure or toy can we make. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that there's value in that, but I think, when you go back to something like this Mama Duck toy, like, this was done intentionally. There was a deliberateness behind it where they knew that
yeah,
this approach was going to um not only was the toy going to be popular with kids, but also there's that random aspect that makes it like a collectible, right? And so, what are some of those things? And I think that you're touching on a lot of them where it's there are things that people are already doing with their Gundam Universe toys, putting them in display dioramas, doing certain things with
yeah.
them and posing them in certain ways that it's like if Bandai were to just look at what people are doing with the toys now and you know that the toys are popular, then like lean into that and deliver more of the things that people are using to do that.
Yeah, something else, and this kinda goes back to the random stuff. I thought I saw someone in chat, it might have been 16X,
Oh
talk
yeah.
about something Ichiban Kuji or something like that, and
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
okay,
not familiar with that.
yeah, so I was looking I just found this random thing on, eBay where it's like these model kits that come with random clear parts, um, and I don't know if that is what he was talking
Interesting.
about or if that's related, but that then kinda speaks to, um yeah, let's see, you seen it? Oh, is there a whole website about it? Interesting. Okay, yeah, I guess maybe they did some Gunpla releases, but it looks like, yeah, some of it has, like, transparent parts. It kinda looks cool.
Is it a game?
No, it's model kits, so maybe search Ichiban Kuji Gunpla.
Well,
Um,
so what's fascinating about it is, like, there's, the ichibankuji.us and, like, well, here, let me go ahead and pop up the screen share here. It's like you purchase a randomly selected ticket at the register, peel and open the ticket, check your prize on the ticket, and then exchange your prize with the ticket at the register.
huh.
Hmm.
I wonder, yeah, that's interesting that it says that on here. It's like, well, where's the register? I'm in my office. No, but, I wonder if the Ichiban Kuji means something to do with getting random stuff.
Quite possibly.
Oh, and the
Not
one
pronounced.
below that too, the link below that one,
Oh,
if
yeah?
that doesn't, yeah, because it's showing, yeah, one of the, yeah, and I think they look cool. Again, now I'm slowly turning to the clear side. Yeah, it's like a whole selection of them that, um, you might be able to scroll, uh, through or the next image.
Yeah.
Like, I love that neon green, like, that's a real great also.
Yeah.
But again, I
So, I
don't
mean
know exactly what's
oh,
going on here.
man. So this is pretty cool because, like, you and I talked about doing this with your freedom,
Yeah.
where it was like
Yeah, if
just
you
swapping
wanted
in a
to,
few.
yeah, that's what's interesting too, because especially if you wanted to do the LED stuff, like, maybe there's just certain things you swap, certain pieces you swap, so then you can make use of it, but there's something about that clear green.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
what it is, the neon green.
because it's definitely like, it's like that UV reactive green where if you were to hit it with
Yeah.
a black light, that's what I noticed about the real grade Epion, is that
Oh,
the
yeah.
green plastic on the real grade Epion is, like, super reactive to UV
It is.
light.
That's when I was doing my pictures, my, blue LED light was, like, really getting it to glow, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that."
So yeah,
Anyway,
that's an interesting. I'm definitely gonna do more research on this Ichiban Kuji phenomenon.
yeah. Yeah, the new Gundam looks cool. Man, $60. I mean, not that I need to get into something else random, but,
Well, and the thing is like you wouldn't be buying. I guess if you're buying it secondhand, then you would be getting it for $60. But like when you buy it originally, it might not be that, right? Like because the
yeah,
prize ticket is what's random.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, huh.
But yeah, I think that there's definitely room for random. Let me put it that way.
Room for random, I like it.
But yeah, that's all I had to talk about today, just, keeping it light and fun, talking about my kids' toys and how I can adapt them to to the things that I like,
Yeah,
which, you and I were talking before the stream started, is hopefully this got people to kind of think about other people and, like, maybe like you said, maybe we don't as adult collectors, we don't care about like a kid's toy like a mother duck, but like if we were to put it in the context of Gundam, something that we are attached to, all of a sudden we become much more passionate about that thing. And so maybe we'll be more patient the next time we have a kid that's like getting frustrated with not getting what they want from a random loot box or something like that. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
that's great, man.
That's my life lesson to take home. If you take home a life lesson from Sonic 3, then that's the life lesson I'm I'm
Yep,
offering you to take home this evening. Um, but yeah, I appreciate you, like I said, I knew that, being a Gachapon fanatic
into
and an
toys.
action figure
Yeah.
aficionado that you would have a lot to say on this subject, so I
Oh,
appreciate your
definitely.
insight on this.
I mean, even my wallet was flinching as I was talking.
I know that this was the worst stream in the world for you because now you've got like 3 new lines of figures. You're like, "Well,
I got
I'm gonna have
tabs.
to buy an HCM Pro. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
check out the MSIAs."
Yep, yep, that's how it happens. That's funny.
Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out in chat. Hopefully you
Yeah,
had fun looking it's like kind of look back in time at some of the toys that we grew up with.
yeah.
But, yeah, you guys have a good rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your year. I guess I can say that today. But,
Yeah,
happy New Year to you. Rest and relax as tomorrow we have to hit the ground running again,
yeah,
right?
that's right.
And, yeah, tune in tomorrow. We've got the Gundam Explained show live,
Oh, yeah.
I assume, right? We don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
any okay.
Yep, yep, still happening. Yep.
I didn't wanna put you on the spot.
Oh, no, 'cause the day after, you know how it is in the US. Back to work.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, have a good one, you guys. Enjoy your evening. We will see you tomorrow on the Gundam Explained show. And if you
yeah,
haven't, definitely go check out Adam's video on the Gundam Mark II development.
yep.
So until
Thank you.
then, y'all have a
Alright,
good night.
see y'all.